You interact with people every single day. But, what if I told you most of those interactions aren't as straightforward as they seem? What if there are invisible strings, subtly pulling your thoughts and guiding decisions without you noticing? I found out the hard way, in a moment so small I almost missed. One afternoon, a friend showed me a new gadget, a tiny thing I had no use for. He held it up, smiled that easy smile, and said, "You should get one. Everyone has this." A strange, quiet pressure to agree washed over me. Later, I realized his words and the way he asked were not harmless. They were tools. These subtle instruments of influence are everywhere, not just in friends' hands. Gleaming supermarket aisles, bright screens on your phone, quiet corridors at work. They even find their way into our homes, shaping what we believe, shaping what we purchase. They operate in the background, like a hum we've stopped hearing. But it's there. Understanding these tools is the first step to taking back control. Today I'll pull back the curtain on 10 powerful mind tricks. I'll keep words simple. Truth doesn't need to be complicated. For each trick, I'll give real, everyday examples you will recognize. I'll also tell you how to spot them, how to see the strings before they're pulled. This isn't about becoming cynical or distrustful. It's about becoming aware, learning the language of influence so you can tell a genuine conversation from a hidden agenda. Knowledge here is not just power, it's freedom. The freedom to choose for your own reasons, on your own terms. The human mind is remarkable but full of shortcuts and little habits. These tricks exploit those shortcuts. They bypass your conscious, critical thinking. They appeal to your instincts. They appeal to your emotions. They appeal to your deep-seated need to belong. By the end, you'll have a new lens to see the world. You'll notice subtle nudges and gentle pushes that were invisible before. The first trick is perhaps the most common one we encounter. It's called social proof. At its core, this is the simple human tendency to copy the actions of others in an attempt to behave correctly. We are social creatures, and for millennia, sticking with the tribe was a matter of survival. If everyone else was running from a rustling in the bushes, you ran too. We carry that instinct with us today. When we are uncertain about how to act, we look to those around us for clues, assuming that if a lot of people are doing something, it must be the right thing to do. You see this everywhere. Walk into a bookstore, and you'll find a table piled high with novels bearing a sticker that says, "Bestseller." That label doesn't just tell you a book is popular. It whispers that you'll probably like it too. Go online, and you'll see it in the number of likes, shares, and positive reviews on a product page. A video with millions of views feels more important, more worthy of your time, than one with only a few hundred. Imagine two new restaurants side by side. One is quiet, the other is bustling with loud, happy diners. Which one seems like the better choice? In one study, researchers found that hotel guests were more likely to reuse their towels if a sign said, "The majority of guests in this room reuse their towels," versus a sign that just asked them to help the environment. We want to be part of the in-group, to do what is considered normal and accepted. This desire is so ingrained that we often follow the crowd without a second thought. So, how do you spot this trick and keep your own counsel? It begins with a simple question. Before you make a choice, pause and ask yourself, would I still want this? Would I still do this if I were the only one? Try to separate the item or action from the crowd surrounding it. Look for genuine signs of quality, not just manufactured popularity. Remember that online, likes and reviews can be faked, and a bestseller tag can simply be a marketing strategy. Learn to trust your own judgment, even if it means walking away from the crowd. Your own needs and desires should be your guide, not the echo of the masses. Next, we have a trick that plays on our deep-seated respect for expertise and power. Authority bias. Our parents, our teachers, police officers. This is generally a good thing. It helps maintain social order. However, this learned deference can be exploited. People tend to trust and obey individuals they perceive as experts or authority figures, often without questioning their directives. The mere appearance of authority, a uniform, a fancy title, a professional-looking logo can be enough to make us suspend our own critical judgment. Think about television commercials. How often have you seen an actor in a white lab coat recommending a certain brand of toothpaste? The coat is a symbol. It implies scientific backing and medical expertise, making the recommendation feel more credible, even if the doctor is just a paid actor. Another example is a news segment featuring a financial analyst in a sharp suit, speaking confidently about the stock market. Their professional attire and confident tone lend weight to their predictions, influencing viewers' financial decisions, regardless of the analyst's actual track record. One of the most famous and unsettling demonstrations of this bias is the Milgram experiment, conducted in the 1960s. In this study, participants were instructed by a person in a lab coat, an authority figure, to deliver what they believed were increasingly powerful electric shocks to another person. A shocking number of participants continued to administer the shocks, even when they heard cries of pain, simply because the authority figure told them to continue. This experiment revealed a dark truth. Our instinct to obey authority can sometimes override our own moral compass. Spotting this trick requires you to look past the surface and question the source. When you encounter an expert, ask yourself, what are their actual credentials? Do they have real, verifiable expertise in this specific field? Or are they just wearing the uniform? Don't be swayed by impressive-sounding titles or official-looking websites alone. Take a moment to seek out other perspectives and verify the facts for yourself. A true authority isn't afraid of scrutiny. Being wary of the symbols of power and instead focusing on the substance of the claims is your best defense against being led blindly by a badge or a title. Have you ever felt a sudden, urgent need to buy something simply because you were told it was the last one? That feeling is the result of our third trick, scarcity. We place higher value on things that seem rare. The thought of missing out creates anxiety and urgency, which makes us act fast, often without thinking. Fear of loss often outweighs desire for gain. Marketers exploit this. Online store warning. Only 2 left in stock. Item goes from maybe to must-have. Airlines. Only 3 seats left at this price. Flash sales. Ends at midnight. The ticking clock and dwindling supply short-circuit your rational brain. Friends can do it too. Once in a lifetime or everyone's going, implying you'll be excluded. Scarcity taps our primal fear of missing out. Stephen Werkle's 1970s study showed the effect. Jar with 2 cookies, jar with 10 cookies. People preferred the rare jar. How to resist? Slow down, take a deep breath and step back. Ask, do I truly need this now, or am I afraid of missing out? Most real opportunities aren't that fleeting. Restocks and new deals come. Pause and let your logic catch up. Our fourth trick is a social rule so deeply ingrained in us that we barely notice it. The principle of reciprocity. This is the idea that when someone does something for you or gives you a gift, you feel a powerful, often unconscious, obligation to give something back in return. It's the foundation of social cooperation. The you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours that holds societies together. But this deeply human instinct can also be turned into a tool of influence. By giving you something first, even something small and unsolicited, people can create a sense of indebtedness that makes it difficult for you to say no to a later request. Think of the free sample at the grocery store. A friendly person offers you a small piece of cheese on a toothpick. You accept it, you thank them, and now you feel a subtle pressure. As you stand there chewing, it becomes much harder to simply walk away. You might feel obligated to listen to their sales pitch, or even to buy a package of the cheese to repay their small act of kindness. At work, a colleague might offer to help you with a minor task. Later, when they ask for a much larger favor, you remember their earlier generosity and feel compelled to agree, even if it's inconvenient for you. Charities often use this tactic by including a small gift, like a set of personalized address labels or a calendar, in their fundraising letters. Before you've even read their request for a donation, they have given you something. This small, unexpected gift triggers your sense of reciprocity, making you feel more obligated to send money in return. As Dr. Cialdini notes, this rule is so powerful because it can make us feel indebted to people we don't even like, for gifts we didn't even want. To protect yourself from being manipulated by reciprocity, you need to learn to recognize when a gift is not just a gift. The key is to mentally separate the gift from the request that follows. You can accept the small favor or free sample with a polite thank you without feeling obligated to fulfill the larger request that comes next. Acknowledge the gesture, but understand that you have the right to make your subsequent decision independently. You can say no, kindly, but firmly. The fifth mind trick preys on our desire to be seen as reliable and consistent. It's the principle of commitment and consistency. Once we make a choice or take a stand, we feel a personal pressure to behave consistently and an interpersonal pressure to behave consistently. We like to think of ourselves as steady and dependable, not flighty or indecisive. If someone gets you to make a small, harmless commitment, they've laid a trap. It becomes easier to persuade you to agree to larger related requests, because you'll want future actions consistent with past ones. Classic example, the free trial. Streaming service signs you up, software company signs you up for a 30-day free trial. All you need is to enter your email, maybe your credit card details, a small commitment. You enjoy the service for a month, which feels like endorsing it. When the trial ends, switching to a paid subscription feels like the natural next step. You've already committed, so paying feels logical. You're acting consistently with your initial decision. Social example, small favors escalate. Can you help move this one small box? You agree, it's minor. Now you're at their apartment and they ask, while you're here, could you help with this couch? Saying no now feels inconsistent and unhelpful. Political campaigns, sign a petition, later ask for a donation, or ask you to volunteer your time. Dr. Cialdini, consistency is a mental shortcut. It saves us from rethinking choices each time. Tip: be protective of your first yes. Before agreeing, pause and consider where it might lead. Ask, if I say yes, what will I be asked to agree to next? Do I want to go down this path? It's easier to decline the initial small request than to back out later. Make decisions consciously and even write them down to resist the pull of consistency when it's not in your best interest. Our sixth trick involves two closely related concepts that shape our perception of value and information. Framing, anchoring. Framing is about how information is presented to you. The same fact can feel entirely different depending on words and context. Anchoring is a cognitive bias. We rely too heavily on the first piece of information, the anchor. That initial piece sets a mental benchmark. All subsequent judgments are made in relation to it. Together, they form a powerful 1-2 punch. A jacket with a price tag showing a crossed-out $200 and a new price of $99. $200 is the anchor. It's set high to make $99 feel like a bargain, even if the jacket was never meant to sell for $200. Yogurt example: 90% fat-free versus contains 10% fat. The same product, different framing. The positive framing makes all the difference. In news reporting, if a headline focuses on property damage, you are anchored to the idea of a violent riot. If the same event is framed by the number of peaceful participants, you are anchored to the idea of a civic demonstration. The work of psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, Nobel laureates, documented how framing and anchoring cause predictable errors in judgment, showing that we're not as rational as we think. To counteract framing and anchoring, seek different perspectives and create your own context. See a discounted price? Ignore the original anchor. Ask yourself, is this item worth the sale price to me? Read a news story? Check how other sources report the same event. Try to reframe the information yourself. What's another way to look at this? Think about the frame, question the anchor, and step outside the box to judge information on its own merits. Now we come to a pair of clever persuasion tactics, the foot in the door technique, the door in the face technique. Both involve making a sequence of requests to increase the likelihood of getting what you want. The foot in the door technique, which we touched upon with commitment, starts small. The persuader makes a minor, easy-to-grant request. Once you've agreed, you've metaphorically let them get their foot in the door, because you've already said yes once, you are now psychologically more likely to agree to a larger, related request that follows. For example, a canvasser for a charity might first ask if you would be willing to sign a petition to support their cause. This is a small, low-effort request. A week later, the same charity calls and asks if you would be willing to make a financial donation. Because you've already publicly committed, you feel more pressure to be consistent. The initial small yes paved the way for the bigger one. It's a slow, gradual escalation of commitment that can be hard to notice in the moment. The door-in-the-face technique works in the opposite way. The persuader starts by making a very large, often unreasonable request that they fully expect you to refuse. When you say no, slamming the door in their face, they immediately follow up with a much smaller, more reasonable request. Imagine a teenager asking their parents if they can go on an unsupervised, month-long road trip. The parents say absolutely not. The teen counters, "Can I at least go to the concert this Friday and stay out until midnight?" Compared to the month-long trip, the concert seems like a very small concession, and the parents are more likely to agree. Both of these tactics are frequently used by salespeople and negotiators. To spot them, pay close attention to the sequence of requests. If an initial ask seems unusually small or outrageously large, be on guard. Your best defense is to set your own limits early and evaluate each request on its own merit, not in relation to the one that came before it. Facts and figures can persuade the mind, but stories capture the heart. That brings us to our 8th trick: emotional manipulation with stories. Humans are narrative creatures. We think in stories. We remember in stories. We are moved by them in profound ways. A well-told story can bypass our logical defenses and create a powerful emotional connection, making us far more susceptible to persuasion. When our emotions are engaged, sympathy, anger, hope, our critical thinking abilities tend to take a back seat. This vulnerability is often exploited to encourage immediate, unthinking action. Instead of presenting statistics about a widespread problem, they will tell you the story of one individual: a sad-eyed child who needs a sponsor, a lonely shelter animal looking for a home. They give the subject a name, show you their face, narrate their tragic circumstances. This single, personal story evokes a much stronger emotional response and is far more likely to compel you to donate than a dry report on the millions who are suffering. This technique is not limited to fundraising. A friend asking for a loan might not just state their need. They might weave a long, sad tale of unexpected hardships and personal struggles to elicit your sympathy and make it harder for you to refuse. On social media, you'll see emotionally charged posts that tell a dramatic story, often ending with a plea to share if you care. As neuroscience studies show, stories activate more parts of our brain than simple facts do, creating a more immersive and memorable experience that leads to stronger conviction. The way to guard against this form of manipulation is not to become heartless, but to become mindful. When you feel a strong emotional pull from a story, acknowledge that feeling. Your empathy is a good thing, but then pause. Before you act, before you donate, before you share, before you agree, take a moment to engage your logical brain. Ask for the full picture. Seek out facts and evidence to support the narrative. Is this story representative of a larger truth, or is it an isolated, emotionally potent anecdote designed to make you act impulsively? Separating the emotional impact of the story from the rational merits of the request is crucial to making a clear-headed decision. Why do you feel a certain fondness for a song you initially disliked after hearing it on the radio a dozen times? This is the work of our 9th mind trick: repetition and the mere exposure effect. This psychological phenomenon describes our tendency to develop a preference for things simply because we are familiar with them. The more we see or hear something, a brand logo, a political slogan, a person's face, the more we tend to trust it and feel positively toward it. Our brain has a simple shortcut: familiar equals safe, and safe equals good. Repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity breeds liking. This is the foundational principle of modern advertising. Companies spend billions of dollars to place their logos and jingles everywhere: billboards, television commercials, website banners, social media feeds. You might not pay conscious attention to that soda advertisement you drive past every day, but your subconscious mind is logging it. Over time, through sheer repetition, that brand becomes familiar. When you're standing in the grocery store aisle choosing a drink, that familiarity can be the tipping point that makes you reach for their product over an unfamiliar competitor. It feels like a known quantity, a comfortable choice. The news media and political campaigns are masters of this as well. When a particular headline or talking point is repeated constantly across different channels, it begins to feel like an established fact, regardless of its actual validity. The constant exposure lends it an air of truth and importance. This is known as the illusory truth effect. A lie, if repeated often enough, starts to sound like the truth. The mind mistakes the ease of processing a familiar message for a sign of its accuracy. This is how public opinion can be shaped and swayed over time through a persistent, repetitive messaging strategy. To spot and resist this subtle form of conditioning, you need to actively curate your information diet. Be conscious of how often you are seeing the same message and from how many truly different sources. Make an effort to seek out alternative viewpoints and information that challenges what you are repeatedly being told. When you find yourself liking a product, an idea, or a candidate, ask yourself a critical question. Do I genuinely like this based on its merits? Or do I just feel comfortable with it because I've seen it so many times? Questioning the source of your familiarity can help you break the spell of mere exposure and make choices based on substance, not just repetition. The final trick we will discuss is the most insidious and damaging of all: gaslighting. Unlike other tricks that nudge choices, gaslighting attacks your perception of reality. The term comes from a 1938 play, Gaslight. In the play, a husband subtly dims the gaslights and then denies the change, making his wife question her sanity. Gaslighting is psychological abuse. One person systematically makes another doubt their memory, perception, and sanity. Tactics include denial, misdirection, contradiction, lying. These tactics destabilize the victim and delegitimize their beliefs. In relationships, you might hear, "You're being too sensitive," or "That never happened, you're imagining things." At work, a colleague might deny receiving an email you sent, or claim you forgot a meeting they never told you about. The goal is to make you dependent on their version of reality. Over time, your confidence erodes, and you start to believe you're the one who's flawed. This is a tactic of control. By making you doubt your mind, the gaslighter gains power. You begin to trust them more than yourself, a dangerous place to be. This isn't a marketing trick. It's destructive and long-lasting. Spotting gaslighting means holding on to your reality. The crucial tip: keep records, save emails, take notes after conversations. Keep a private journal of events as they happen. Those records give you something to refer back to when doubt creeps in. Trust your gut. If something consistently makes you feel confused, anxious, or crazy, that's a red flag. Talk to a trusted friend, family member, or therapist. An outside perspective can validate your experience and confirm you're not losing touch with reality. We've walked through 10 of the most common mind tricks that work on us often without our notice. From the gentle nudge of social proof to the aggressive assault of gaslighting. They work because they prey on our mental shortcuts, our emotions, and our basic needs for safety, belonging, consistency. They are used by marketers, by politicians, by colleagues, even by loved ones. They are not always malicious, but their effect is the same. They steer your decisions and shape your world in ways you did not choose. While all these tricks can lead you astray, the most dangerous is gaslighting. It aims not just to influence a decision, but to undermine your whole sense of self. It makes you doubt your own mind, your memory, your sanity. It isolates you and creates dependence on the manipulator. Other tricks cost money or time. Gaslighting can cost autonomy and peace of mind. Protecting yourself is wise. It is self-preservation. Lose trust in your perception, and you become vulnerable to all manipulation. Awareness is the first and most powerful step toward freedom. Now you can name these tricks. Now you can see the strings. You are no longer a passive puppet. You can pause, you can question, you can choose differently. Slow down when scarcity rushes you. Question the expert when authority is used. Hold on to your reality against gaslighting. Don't become a cynic. Be a discerning participant in your life. Trade automatic reactions for conscious choices.